Alright, welcome back to Walker Valley. Not really doing a trail video today. It's more of a GYTR tuner video. Because I've seen plenty of videos on how to tune, but I haven't seen anything that actually shows you the differences between the tunes. And granted, there's all kinds of tunes you can put on this. So I'm going to cover my favorite 4. So I've had this bike, we're coming up on a year now. Let's see here. Make sure it's turned on. So in that year, I've racked up, let's see, 58 hours on this bike. So it took me that long to find what I liked. So what we're going to do is I'm going to send one here. So I've got 4 different maps that I really like. This one here is called the soft map, or I forgot what they call it. I call it soft. I'm going to send that to the bike. Okay, send is completed. And I'm going to do a trail on this one. This is not my favorite, but it is one that I did have to use to become accustomed to the bike. So this essentially neuters the bike, makes the bike pretty unresponsive. If you watched my video, I think it was called Going for a Rip, that was the soft map. So the soft map, you're going to need a lot more throttle to get that initial to get going, essentially. And I have a tendency to stall with that one. It does not have the blippable power. And what I mean by that is the WR, when it's uncorked, it is quite spunky. So now that I have the soft map loaded, we're going to do this first trail. And you're going to be listening for what the bike is doing. And I'll try to describe it as I go, but sometimes it's pretty hard to describe. But this is the softest feeling. It's going to feel like the least amount of power, which when I first got the bike, that's exactly what I needed, just to kind of get used to this throttle, because the throttle is it's very sensitive, I guess is the best way to describe it. So let's go do this one and listen to what the bike is doing, and like I said, I'll try to describe it. So, the first thing is that it will actually make first gear somewhat usable. Any other mode, that first gear, it's so low that as soon as you start going, you're going to dig a hole, or if you've got great traction, you're going to flip the bike. So I usually start out in second gear. But with this map, first gear is the preferred, just so you can get going. I'll start out in second here and you'll see what I mean. Okay, this is second gear. So you can see how it's kind of boggy. Now once you're on the trail, it works really well because it really tames the engine braking. Oops. A little too short there. So again, this is still second gear, and you can hear how much I have to feather it. See, and right there's the stall, because you got to give it all that extra throttle. So this is going to be a good place where I start out in first using the soft map. If it was on my favorite map, second gear would suffice. But you'll see that a little bit later. Oh, come on. This bike does not like cold weather. It's about, I don't know, 42 degrees right now. Yeah, that map is, uh-oh. Alright, it's just me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let them go by. It's easier for me to get out of the way than it is them. Also easier for me to climb stuff like this without that extra obstacle. Told you this thing does not like cold. Okay, now I'm back in second. So you can hear when I let off the throttle or roll back to idle as I'm going in gear. It kind of takes that engine braking out, or that compression braking. It tames that a little bit. See, so right here I'm off the throttle, on and off. Now when you don't have any mapping, which I'll show you a little bit later on, that engine braking is quite severe. To the point where it's almost unrideable. So if you have a WR250F, and I can't speak if it's the same for the YZs or not, but I would highly recommend getting one of these. I mean, they're pretty cheap. They're only a couple $100. And this is also assuming that you de-restricted the bike, opened up the airbox, took the exhaust restrictor out, got the new ECU. So basically I've got full use of this engine with this bike, even though it took me a while to actually figure out how to use it. so again, we're still in second gear, so let's listen to this as I go. Kind of listen to when I roll off throttle, going down a hill. You can hear the bike making the noise, but the bike isn't actually slowing down. I mean, it is to a certain degree, but not like if there was no mapping. So that's kind of what to watch and listen for. As the video progresses, I think you'll understand. Slipped on that root, wasn't ready for it. Clutch out, rolled off the throttle, nice and controlled, no excessive slowing. Clutch is out. So this way I'm utilizing the engine help slow, but not too much. Can't tell if the camera's on, I think it is. So again, I'm in second gear, which is helpful in the slippery conditions, the muddy conditions, because you don't have a tendency to spin that tire as much. Which I gotta admit, today's conditions are really, really good. So, what you do when you program it, or at least what these maps are laid out to be, is the more throttle or the higher the RPM, the less electronic intervention you have. Again, clutch out. So what's nice about this is you're riding with the clutch out, the throttle still snaps from close to open, but it's not as harsh. So as I do that, it's not throwing me back. So for the tight woods type riding, especially if it's muddy, this is actually a pretty good map to load in the bike. Now, I know over the subsequent years, I think starting 2020 model, you actually have some pre-selected mappings right here. So what's nice about that is as you're riding and you come up to a particular section that's slippery or tricky in some way, you could just hit one button and flip down to your low traction mode, and then hit the other button to return to your full-on motocross mode for when it's a little bit more open or predictable. So this pertains to, I don't know, what is it, 15 through 19, I think. If you're watching this, you probably know. Well, I guess you could just watch it just because it might be interesting, but anyway, so we'll continue on. I guess something else to know is with this map, the bike isn't quite as blippable. So to pop that front end up, it takes a little bit more effort. Of course, that's coming from a guy who could barely do it anyway, so. Like right here. So if I kept my momentum up and wanted to come up and just kind of blip up over this, I would have had to give it all kinds of throttle, versus the other map, you just kind of like that and front end would come right up. Kind of nearing the end of this trail, which is probably good because I don't like this map very much anymore. I did at one point, but alright. So we'll go down here and program in the next map, and I'll show you the differences there. Okay, so this map, I already loaded it, but I'm going to show you. This map is what I call my medium map. So the medium map is essentially, I took the soft map and I took a digit away from each one there. So it's just basically one digit lower. And it actually makes a pretty significant difference. So this is actually my favorite map. And we'll go ahead and do this next trail on this map, and I'll explain the differences there. So what this one does is it kind of adds some of that blippable power back in, but yet not it's not overwhelming. And now I'm in second gear. Good. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, that's awesome. Well, that was a treat, and he was hauling. I don't know if they pooped their pants like I did or not. That was pretty cool. So anyway, so it adds some of the blippable power back in, and yet it still very controllable. I like this mapping best for the trails. So again, if you listen to it, and I'll try to describe as I go what's going on there. So again, this is all second gear still. And you can probably hear how much quicker it goes from tame to tear your face off. Still second gear, which is now more like first with this mapping. Well, I kind of wish I was up here when that F-18 flew by, because you know what? He would have been about even with me. That would have been really cool. I always miss this. It's well camouflage when you're coming up. Okay, so this is first gear. So you can see when I roll off the throttle, how the bike kind of slows down a little bit more aggressively now. I mean, it's still not bad, it's quite manageable. And that's why I like this, it's a good compromise. Just me. I'm just off from a whole other world. So this is second gear. See, so I can actually use that engine braking quite effectively. As a back brake. So right now it's no brakes. Just pull the clutch in, come back down, clutch is out. And just like the other one, as I'm going down the trail, I roll off the throttle and I come back on. It's still not snapping my head. still pretty, I don't know if anyone saw that. I'm going to turn around and look at that. This is not a trail. That's funny. So, like I said, this has got more of that blippable power now. But again, it's not overwhelming. See, you could just kind of do that blip there. Now granted, the RPMs have to be up. But with that other map, and of course that was first gear, but that other map, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to twist it a hell of a lot more. So that's the medium map. So now I'm going to go ahead and load in the next map, and then the one after that is going to be no mapping whatsoever. Okay, so this next map, just like the medium map, I took the medium map and I came down one number in each one. So, and again, it'll make a pretty significant difference. So if you notice, if we look at it, so you can see out at the very high-end RPM and throttle positions, throttle we still have a +1, that's adding extra fuel, and timing we're at 0. Now I like to add the fuel rather than take away because I don't like that spark knock, and when I tried some of the maps that were a little bit leaner, I had a lot of spark knock and I didn't much care for that. So that's why I like to go with the adding the fuel. But like I said, I mean, you find what you like and you roll with it. I'm just kind of showing the differences and how this all gets set up and kind of what to expect when you're playing with this. Oops, I gotta turn that around, don't I? So the first one is a soft map. This is medium map. I guess we'll call this a hard map. And then after this one, we'll go with the no map and see how that is. So again, we're still in second gear. Second and third gear seems to be the sweet spot for this bike on these tight trails like this. I might have a new favorite map. I could definitely, I can feel the power just kind of hiding there, just waiting to be released. Throttle doesn't seem too bad. We're going to find out right now how bad it really is. So again, second gear, clutch is out. Oh yeah, see, it's slowing me down quite a bit. So now the engine braking comes into play now. See that? I suppose you probably can't see it, but I can feel it. Oops. Foot got stuck between the peg. God, I love that traction. These, just a side note, I'm running the Kenta Trackmasters. Man, these things are great. Especially for that hard pack. Okay, second gear now. Went back down to first, so it seems to be a little bit more sluggish in second gear, which kind of surprises me, because I know when I go to the zero mapping, it's gonna scream. Back in second now. Biggest takeaway I can feel on this map versus the other one is that engine braking. That seems to be the largest difference. Oops. Second gear. Wow, it's even not quite. There it is. It still feels a little bit sluggish. Now I haven't really run this particular mapping very much, but I don't remember it this way. But the blippable is certainly there. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and go with no mapping and see what that's like. Alright, so we're gonna take all mapping out. This is the way the ECU comes stock. So you see everything's 0. So this is a little screamer now. She can go. Actually, I rode up to Clone Peak with no mapping, and that probably helped me get over that throttle issue. And I say it's an issue because, you know, my DR650, the dual sport bike, it's carbureted, whereas this here is fuel injected. My Super Tenere is fuel injected as well, and I've got 2 different map settings on that, but I can't reprogram any of it. It is either touring or sport. So that one I've gotten to the point where I just have it in sport mode all the time now. Unless I take it off-road, which more than likely won't happen because I neutered that bike and I put some street tires on it because I was just using it for commuting back and forth to work. So, but anyway, back to this. So this is no mapping, and what I didn't like about this is the power delivery is like right now and in your face, but the engine compression or the braking when you roll off throttle is pretty severe, and I'll try to demonstrate that as we go down this trail. So that's why I don't like this one very much, unless I'm somewhere that's a little bit more open instead of the tight trails like this. So something else I've noticed watching some of my previous videos is you can actually hear the difference in the exhaust, where now it really sounds like it's thumping. Alright, let's go. Added a new obstacle there. Okay, clutch out, rolled off the throttle, and we're crawling down this hill. Watch when I pull the clutch it. Well, shit. Guess I'll do it on the next one. We are in 2nd gear right now. This got washed out with all the heavy rains, and I see they filled it in already, so thanks to you guys who maintain this area. Shit. That's what you call a flame out. See, now with this map, every time I roll off throttle, I gotta pull the clutch in, because otherwise it just kind of, see right now, clutch is out. Let's see if I can do a visual demonstration here. Okay, clutch out, you see how I'm slowing down? And then when I pull the clutch in, it's of course free rolling and all that kind of stuff, so makes a big difference. Clutch is out, comes right to a stop pretty quick. But it's got full-on blippable power. I think I want to get off to the side here. Alright, so that's the difference between the four that I like most. So with that, I'm going to set it back to my favorite, which is the mid-power setting. That seems to be the best compromise for power, engine brake, blippable. It just kind of suits the way I ride right now. Now, just like anything else, the power settings you choose is going to be dependent on your style and your skill level. So, but hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of how to play with the settings and whatnot. So with that, I think the rest of the day I'm going to take for me. See you next time.